Welcome everyone to Male Fuzz TV. I am Peter and I'm joined by Tara. This is a show where we talk about TV shows. It's been also I've done this, I'm forgetting my intro. The year is 2022 and the name of the show is Babylon 5. So this is going to be season 5, episode 12. It's called The Ragged Edge. So full spoilers for the episode. And before we get to the episode, let me explain the journey, the rocky road to get this episode recorded. I shall sum it up for you because you're probably thinking, why is this episode 3 weeks after the last one, or whatever it's been? It's been something like that. There was a series of power cuts at Tara's place that prohibited us from recording, and then when we finally got together to record this episode a week later, Tara had forgotten we hadn't recorded this and then watched the wrong episode for the second attempt at recording. And then the next time we tried to record, we had to cancel because Tara got a flat tire and we couldn't record that particular day. So this has been a long time coming. I have watched this episode twice. I have skimmed it then about another 3 or 4 times.
I've watched it 3 times.
So this might be the episode of Babylon 5 that I know better than any other one. I'll never forget this episode of Babylon 5. Not because it was...
What's it called?
The
Phoenix
most important
Rising?
one. The Ragged Edge. How dare you?
Okay.
So, yeah, we're going to get into it. Although, I will start with a bit of an announcement. This is separate to why this episode took so long. But we're actually going to start from this point on alternating weeks with Babylon 5. We're going to be alternating with Twilight Zone. So, yeah, you'll get the next episode in 2 weeks' time and so on and so forth. Starting from now. So we're on the final season. It's the season that people don't seem to like as much, so we're going to alternate with Twilight because we've been kind of neglecting Twilight Zone and prioritizing B5 for a long time.
Yeah,
but
I miss Twilight Zone too.
So we're going to try and make it a bit fairer between the two. So that's the plan. Have no fear, we're here.
We're still here.
Yeah, at least one person on Twitter asked, "Are you finished? Have you just quit?" I'm like, "No, we didn't quit."
Oh, really?
No, we're
Sorry.
fine. That's right. We're here.
You've been updating them on YouTube. I've seen the little bulletin board.
I have. Not everyone sees the posts on YouTube though. It's kind of like a feature some people just don't notice.
We have been pretty regular.
I feel like when it's for my experience on YouTube, I think I can count on one hand the number of times I've seen in my updates a post from one of my channels that I follow. I see them very rarely. Maybe I just don't get used that much and that's why you don't see them that often, but I don't feel like you see them that often. So
I usually get them when someone's like, hey, I've put out a video and not a lot of people watched it, so maybe you should put on the bell so that you get notifications when I put a video out. I'm like, get off it, man.
wait, does that work? Am I supposed to go begging when something's not getting a lot of views?
These are big channels too. I'm like, bullshit. Bullshit. No one's getting the YouTube notifications or whatever.
Anyway, so let's get into the Ragged Edge, which is, I feel like I've already spoken about this 10 times in my head at this point, but two main plots. Main one being Garibaldi and his investigation of something that leads him off to the Drazi homeworld. And also a nice little subplot with G'Kar, which has a lot of nice Londo and G'Kar, odd couple stuff, but also some interesting new developments for G'Kar himself. And I saw that face. Like, can I not reference enjoying Londo and G'Kar together without you getting all pissy about it?
That face wasn't for you.
What was the face
It's for the people.
Yeah, but I have to see it.
I don't look at you when we do these recordings.
Why not? I'm gorgeous.
I look at me.
So the big thing that Garibaldi's investigating, we've been talking about these attacks that have been happening to all the Alliance members in space. The ships have been attacked. This happens to a shipment going towards the Drazi homeworld, an illegal shipment full of all the sorts of things I'm not supposed to be, taking part in. But there's
played by a very enthusiastic guest actor.
Look, he had one scene where he got to say things, and he really wanted to put his all in.
You think the direction was pretend you're playing Medal of Honor with your friends? Oh no, pretend you're playing GoldenEye with your friends.
Yes, that was out by now, I think.
Yeah. I think GoldenEye works.
I think GoldenEye was it by this point. Early 98.
I can't say Call of Duty, so like.
I mean, I appreciate you trying to make it time appropriate. That said, I feel like the attitude you're talking, like the sort of the whether you're saying a game from this time period, I feel like what you're referencing here is something that didn't really exist until people were playing games online. Like,
yeah, I mean, he definitely had like an earpiece and talking to somebody who's not there. It's not like a couch co-op yelling at him, "Don't look at my screen."
Yeah. Have you not seen that photo and the meme of like there's two kids playing split screen and they've got like a cardboard box like taped to the middle of the TV and like one kid's underneath the box so they can't see each other's screen.
It's the only way to play fair. Wonder why those games don't make a comeback. Except for the actual GoldenEye game this game remastered.
Yeah. I wonder if they'll change the controls, because I tried to play it like for the first time like a decade ago and it controlled horrible. I turned it off after like 5 minutes. It was terrible.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a game of its time. Like Doom is still fun to play, the 93 Doom, but I think that's like the only exception of an old game that's still fun.
I mean, well, that of that genre, sure. There's plenty of other games from the 90s that still work.
I don't know. A lot of games I revisit, I regret.
We're
getting off topic.
First person shooters have aged poorly from the early days. That is true. I'm not going to deny that fact.
Doom still works.
Yeah. But anyway, yes. So this guy survives the attack. He's the first known survivor of one of these attacks from this alien race or whoever it is that's attacking these ships. So Garibaldi's going to go off to the Drazi homeworld. Notably though, he gets woken up by Zach. He's late for the meeting because he's passed out because he got drunk the night before. That was a big plot point at the end of the last episode. Was he was hitting the bottle for the first time in a long time.
Back on the wagon.
And no, off the wagon.
No, he's on the wagon.
No, he's off the wagon.
There's a whole like Jerry Seinfeld sketch.
You're off the wagon when you start drinking again. That is what the saying means.
I'm gonna look this up.
It's on the wagon means you're sober.
I think that's the joke, though, is that it sounds like it should be off the wagon.
Why? You've fallen off. You've stumbled like a fool because you've made the wrong choice.
Okay, yeah, you're right. All right, let me see. Let me just put on the wagon and see if that. Yeah. It's right.
Thank you. Vindication. Cue the Holt gift from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Thank you. Oh dear.
Well, I've never been to AA.
Maybe you should. What's in that bottle?
Water, and I just spilt all over myself.
It's mostly water.
Maybe. I do have a drinking problem.
Yeah, can't drink without drooling. That's the drinking problem.
The airplane joke.
It's been since I watched Airplane. Forgive me for not remembering every joke is in it. So Garibaldi goes off. He doesn't want Franklin to come with him. Obviously we kind of know it's because he's worried that Franklin will catch him either, and not that he's necessarily planning on drinking again, but it might come up that he's feeling like he has to be on guard because he sort of let himself slip. So a big part of this plot is him going off and meeting up with this old friend that he knows that's on Drazi homeworld, and this guy pulls out a drink and Garibaldi has a moment where he's maybe going to stop him and then he chooses not to. So he still makes a poor choice here, but it's not like he goes looking to get drunk or to have a drink. It's kind of just, oh, it's falling into my lap. I'm not going to go out my way to stop it.
Yeah, I like the episode, which is good because I watched it 3 times. I like the episode. I think it's, I like the Garibaldi stuff a lot. And I like that I like right away what they do with him and Franklin, who takes it really personal that he's not, that Garibaldi doesn't want him to come with him. And, the audience, we know why, but like, he really gets into him about it. Like, why don't you want me with you? And like, why is this a personal choice? Like, should I be offended? You can come to me about anything. Kind of like maybe he knows even. but
I'd say
or at least suspect there's something wrong.
Yeah, suspects
anyway.
that something's not quite right for sure.
I imagine the reason that he doesn't want him to come along is because, he just helped him through some addiction. Garibaldi helped Franklin get over his addiction, or at least was able to see the signs of it and help him and say this is, clearly a problem. You don't know it, but I know it.
So you think there's an extra layer of shame because he didn't get to act all high and mighty. He didn't have an attitude with it or anything, but the idea that he was there for him in that capacity, so he feels like he's failed doubly. So Franklin has to be the one to kind of.
I imagine there's an extra layer of embarrassment or shame, and also Franklin's just gone through this, so maybe he would see the signs of addiction.
Yeah, but he sees that he's hiding something because Franklin was hiding it for a long time. We saw that play out through the show. Yeah. I did think there was some interesting stuff though when we get to the Drazi homeworld. Just a little bit of lore here or there that I thought was kind of cool. There's a whole little speech that Garibaldi's old friend gives about Drazi architecture. I almost said Garibaldi architecture. Architect Garibaldi building
there
better
might be
worlds.
one of those out there.
There may be. Garibaldi and Arc Vandelay, cutting edge architects. That was a Seinfeld joke for anyone who didn't get it. No? Okay.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I already misquoted Seinfeld earlier in this episode, so.
Well, I don't think anyone will blame me for not getting it if you misquoted it. But yeah, it's just quite interesting. He talks about how they've got narrow streets, and that's because it was to help fighting if anyone invaded. And Garibaldi points out that, but planes, bombs, does that really matter anymore? He's like, well, no, but it's tradition. And because they were an outdoors race, they all have small interiors but large balconies. That's how they design all their homes, because that's just who they are. And I this is not that important, but it's just it's just an interesting little detail to put in there about an alien race.
Yeah, it's just world building.
Yeah,
this guy clearly likes his job. He likes being a human security guard for the Drazi. Apparently, it's a sign of prestige to have a human security guard.
Yeah, what's funny is that see when Garibaldi gave his reasons to Franklin about not bringing him along, is that, my guy won't trust anyone but me. It sounded, even though we knew why he was saying it, it sounded like it was plausible as well. Maybe there's also some truth to that. Once we actually meet him, though, I'm I don't know, this guy seems pretty laid back.
Yeah, totally.
I don't really get this vibe that he's so untrusting.
I don't know why. I don't really enjoy this very much, but the whole Garibaldi has his gun drawn on him for an extra long period of time. If I were your friend and you drew a gun on me, I'd be effing pissed. We're clearly not friends anymore.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they want to do the tension bit, so we don't know,
if
right
it's
away.
Good or bad.
Yeah.
It's like a cliche trope thing that I just don't. I think it's so it's so dumb.
Yeah, I'd be fine if he spun around and pointed the gun, but then when he saw who it was, he immediately
not pointed at them. Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's the idea is these two were mercenaries or whatever together, so they're used to pointing guns and.
What they're supposed to do. You're supposed to do a high five that turns into an arm wrestling match in the air. That's how you establish that you're mercenaries who are still kind of frenemies.
Garibaldi, you son of a bitch. Is that what
exactly.
Yeah, it's okay. But all this goes to shit though, because he's looking for the pilot that survived. The Drazi government are after him because the Drazi government don't want to admit that they were getting these things delivered here, all these drugs or whatever it was. So they want to kill him. So it's a bit of a race against time to go find him, which is why it's a really bad time for Garibaldi and his friend to get drunk. This guy's clearly a bad influence, because when we cut to them later on, they're both sitting there, they're clearly both just drunk and falling asleep. And I'm like, how is this in any condition to do what you were supposed to do today? You're supposed to go meet and get this pilot back from someone, So it's actually, I think what impresses me about this episode is it actually feels like quite a knock-on action sequence here where, so his friend gets shot and dies. Garibaldi fights a Drazi enemy who's trying to get to him because he's trying to get to the pilot. But then when he actually runs into the alley where the pilot's going to be, the pilot's already dead because there's these hooded figures that have already killed him, which are not Drazi. This is different. This is a third party now is entered. It's not the Drazi that got to him first. It's a third party. And then obviously later on in the episode, we realize this ties into the enemy, that's embedded into this entire culture right now, and the hooded figure that talked to Londo an episode or two ago. So we see how all that sort of starts to link, and it's like, okay, and I think we already theorized that it was probably them that was behind the attacks. That was kind of the only obvious suspect, was who this group that's controlling part of the Centauri are probably the ones doing it. But I liked how this sort of like knocked on from like, okay, Garibaldi gets a fight in the balcony. He then runs to the alleyway, so we get like it was sort of like different sets we don't usually get in this show. This little alleyway set, and
yeah, I agree. And it didn't look like the cheapest. Also, I mean, it didn't look expensive or anything.
I like a TV set,
Yeah, it looked fine. But like, I agree. I like this just sequence a lot, and I like that the mission fails.
But I almost wonder if the reason why that bit in the script about the Drazi building narrow like streets and alleys and stuff, I wonder if it's like
we could build a smaller set.
Not so they could build a small set. I'm wondering if they had access to a set that was from something else and went, oh, these look really narrow, like unnaturally so, and then Straczynski just went, don't worry, I've got it. I know what to
do. Perfect.
I'll just write a reason in the script for it. It's fine.
It's gonna save us a solid $50.
I can actually really like that little bit of world building. So even if that is the reason, I don't care. It's fine. It's cool that it comes from that if that's what it is. But yeah, so this is cool. But yeah, Delenn has to send in a White Star to like evacuate him because everyone's after him at this point. Garibaldi's got the shit kicked out of him. He's bruised. He's cut. All the rest of it.
It sounds like helicopters are like search helicopters are over him also.
Well, it's actually
I don't know if they have helicopters anymore since they have spaceships.
No, we see it's basically a drone. Obviously, they may not use that word at the time, but that's effectively what it was. It was a drone that was looking for him, which is kind of cool. It's kind of predicting the future a little bit.
A little bit there.
Yeah.
And I don't think we use them. Well, I guess we use them to murder people, but we don't really use them to like hunt down criminals, at least our own criminals.
I think the police do use drones, but not in like a widespread. Like I think if there's a situation in like a building, they'll send in a drone, but they don't send drones down streets like like a security camera looking for bad guys.
We're not quite at Minority Report.
No,
yet.
I that feels like an inevitability that we'll see more police drones just around busy city areas.
Yeah. Well,
I can see
it's better than sending in the actual cops.
Oh,
for now, until they become self-aware.
Very political. Yeah, but maybe the self-aware like robot cops will be quite logical and possibly fairer as a result.
Like we're sci-fi fans. I feel like we know where this goes.
I want to be optimistic. Our robot overlords might be nice rulers. Benevolent, you might say. So now all this stuff with that was pretty fun, and it leads to obviously Garibaldi passing all this on, and the only thing he really got of evidence was like this pin fell off of like one of the bad guys in the cloaks. And we get this actually, I thought it was a really cool little scene where, Londo shows up late and he's rambling about, the stupid turbo lift broke down, blah, blah, blah. And he sits down and he's like, oh, where did you get that? And
he does have really bad luck with elevators.
It really does. He's had a lot of elevator troubles out the course of this show. I think it's the hair. I think the extra hair is just like so much like weight that the turbo lift just can't deal with it. Even though it's in space and the weight's like negligible, but whatever. Well, no, that's not true, because there is gravity inside the station because it's spinning, so the weight is a factor. I take that back. But anyway, so basically, he inadvertently reveals, but because he doesn't think there's any reason not to reveal it. He just sort of says, "Oh, where'd you get that?" And he's like, "Oh, it's a button. It's one of the the guards in the Centauri Palace wear these. I grew up around them," and everyone just kind of goes quiet, like, "Oh dear!" Like he just revealed something. And then we cut ahead to a conversation the exact same group, just minus Londo, have again later, talking about the fact that Londo just kind of revealed that these bad guys are Centauri, or at least connected to Centauri. And obviously,
and we can't let Londo know.
Yeah, well, obviously we know exactly what this is all about in the sense that we've been teasing these villains for a while. And I do appreciate though that all of the characters quite quickly say, oh, Londo's not in this. Londo's not a bad guy. Londo's not doing anything intentionally. But obviously, he's reporting back to his government, and because there's corrupt people in his government, that's like why we can't tell him anything. That's why there's leaks.
I think it'd be very difficult for Londo to do anything sneakily with G'Kar as his bodyguard.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. But they don't even have to get to that point, because they're just like, nah, he offered up this information because he clearly doesn't think there's any reason to hide it. So
yeah.
Londo has been on the up and up this season by and large, so there's no reason to suspect. So it's kind of sweet at the end of the scene when it's like, okay, let's try and save his life, because obviously G'Kar's worried that they're going to kill him, that, you know, if he starts asking the wrong questions, that the villainous side in this entire regime are going to go after him.
And only G'Kar is allowed to kill Londo.
I don't think that's what he's getting at, though.
Well, yeah, he's he's in an elevated state now.
G'Kar's over it. G'Kar, when he one day does
clearly
kill Londo, it will be because Londo asks him to, because there's, you know, layers there.
Mm-hmm. In this impossible friendship.
I'm not entering this conversation. I'm done debating this now. We've had this conversation too many times.
Okay.
I'm done. It's a beautiful friendship.
It's dumb.
It's the best thing about the show.
Doesn't make sense.
It makes perfect sense. It's great.
Okay, wait, hold on. Let's say you meet a lovely lady, and she's from Uganda, and you guys have incredible chemistry. You're so deeply in love, and she tells you, by the way, you know that genocide that happened in Scotland? I might have actually been the one responsible for it. Might be a deal breaker? No?
How hot is she?
Doesn't matter.
Yes.
Then you are a horrible, horrible person. I don't know. I think maybe it's a deal breaker.
Look, I was just trying to
and
be...
you could say, look, that's
I was just
Dylan
trying to
and
be
Sheridan.
funny. Calm down. All right, calm down.
Hey, I'm just saying that could also apply to Sheridan and Dylan. And I would say, yeah, probably would be a deal breaker for me. But, you know, that's not the way the show works for some reason. Everyone can just get over genocide in the show.
Yes, but you can't get over them getting over it, because we're still talking about it 10 episodes later.
Whatever.
It's not changing. It's not going away.
I just don't like it.
Yeah, but there's nothing new to add to it. It's been the same thing for the last 10 episodes.
I know. Fine, I won't bring it up again.
Good.
But if you give me those eyes, like, you're going to mention them hanging out together and looking over, like, is she going to say something? Is she going to get upset? I'll say something. Just don't make eye contact.
I have to bring it up with if they have scenes together. I have to talk about it. It's how the review works.
I know. Okay.
Things happen, so we talk about the things that happened.
Okay. Just don't try to instigate anything, all right? Because I won't be able to help it.
I'm not instigating. Oh, jeez. All right, so that's all very sweet. It's a big plot advancement as well. You know, we can't. So now our main characters finally know that there's some evil force at work in this entire Prime regime, right? So that's a big deal. It's a big deal for the plot moving forward. The other side of the plot this episode is G'Kar, more so. He's with Londo early on. There's some jokes been cracked, thrown back and forth about stuff. They're arriving back at the station. They've not been here in a month. And it turns out that G'Kar's book was...
Stolen?
No, that's the obvious word. I was trying to be funnier.
Saved.
I was trying to be funnier than that, but you've ruined it. It's okay. We'll move on. I was going to say.
So anyway, Londo and G'Kar's relationship sucks.
I was going to say relieved of potential wrongdoing or something. I don't know. Like, the point is that his book has spread amongst the Narn, and it turns out he's starting to be worshipped like some kind of a messiah. And this was a very funny scene. Talon's there, who we've not seen in a while, the samurai Narn, and he's saying, "Oh yeah, there was a few copies." Honestly, anytime G'Kar gets to yell a word in anger, that's kind of comical, like copies. Like I always pop for it. It's great. It's funny. I'm always into it.
I don't know if you remember, wasn't there a thing with these like samurai Narn that if they unsheath their weapon that it has to draw blood before they can resheath it? Because he definitely just like unsheaths this in this scene. And I go, wait a second, I thought there was rules about this.
I don't remember, but assuming that you're 100% right, I would say that he's making a point by doing that, because he's saying that he has burdens to live with, and he's making a dramatic point by doing it.
At least he can like cut himself just a little bit, draw a drop of blood, and then sheath it back.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it has to be unsheathed in a, clearly in a threatening manner, whereas here he's literally just showing him his blade. He's like, here, have a look at this.
Yeah.
The intent of the thing is what's important, rather than, falling it to the nitty-gritty letter of the page.
I don't remember a lot of things from the show, but I think that's the thing that they said.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, G'Kar's uncomfortable with this. He turned down being ruler because he didn't want to be like at the center of everything. So this is just kind of him being the center of everything again in a different way. But Talon says, no, look, you've actually got a chance to teach people something. A lot of your books about like learning to get over our grievances and interacting with other races, including the Centauri, and forming bonds with them. And that's poked fun at. There's a scene with Londo where Londo brings it up and he cracks some jokes, and he's like, yeah, you're not mentioned by name, but you are kind of in there as kind of a figure, and some jokes are thrown back and forth. It's quite amusing. But
I think I'll wait for the movie.
That was a good line. Yes. There's also a line about how G'Kar says something to the effect of, I've got all these children I didn't know I had, as in followers. And Londo goes, oh yes, most unsettling when that happens. And I'm like, yeah, Londo's probably got a lot of bastard kids right around.
Yeah.
I believe that 100%. But no, I like this development for G'Kar.
Do you think you need all 6 in order to get someone pregnant though? Is that the trick for them? You never go full 6?
That'd be very easy to avoid getting pregnant though, if you just had to I'll just do 5 out of 6.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be very easy. There would be no contraception industry on Centauri Prime. No need for it.
I don't know. I mean, it's the future. Every species are commingling. There probably is quite a lot of STDs now in this time.
Oh, sure. Okay.
But don't worry, Franklin's on it.
Franklin's taking care of it. More than that. But what did you think of this G'Kar stuff, though? Come on, you keep going off topic at jokes. Come on, give me some thoughts on the development. I
think it's a cute story. I like that G'Kar has more to do than just hang out with Londo in the episode, and yeah, I'm okay with it. Like, it seems to be a nice message. Somebody wrote a book that's helping their species go through some junk, and they seem to be willing to, get over the Book of Jaquan pretty quickly, because now the Book of G'Kar is replacing it.
Yeah, it's
outselling.
It's outselling. I mean, I'm sure the Book of Jaquan will always be around, but they've went through this big change.
I wonder if that's how their religions work, though, on this world, is that they can just write a new one, and everybody just goes for it.
Maybe, but they've went through this big change, and he's fundamentally changing something that they've always been taught. They've always been taught to hate other races. That's especially Centauri, because of the history with the Centauri. So tying in to his relationship with Londo is this idea of like, well, if he can mend that relationship, then surely you can mend relationships with anyone. So that's kind of like the whole point of his teaching, is he's trying to, because there's that joke scene towards the end where like some of his followers like, but at the start of the book it says this Londo character is like awful and we shouldn't trust him. It's like, well, yes, but then you have to like see the arc and get to the end, and it ends with him like hitting him in the face with a book. It's implied off camera anyway. It's like all these stupid followers aren't getting the meaning, but
Yeah.
You know, which, you know, it's a little, it's obviously it's got a bit of comedy in the subplot, but there's a nice bit of sentiment as well, and this idea that part of the reason why G'Kar should be the one to do this is because he doesn't want it, because he doesn't want it for glory or hubris or to be the center of attention. He doesn't like being that, which in turn makes him the best at it, because everything's genuine and coming from a place of actual wanting to help and improve everyone. So
yeah, reluctant hero and all. I think there's a little bit of commentary on like the actual Bible in this too, where like the one follower is like, but this was written by the word of like whatever enlightened spirit was inside of G'Kar when he was writing it. So therefore every word should be taken as truth. And I think that's when G'Kar decides to smack him. Yes.
There's a lot of build up to it as well, because he's like, put your face in the book, and then he's like, no, put your face in the book. Very
if I'm your
entertaining.
benevolent leader, I wouldn't do anything that would purposely hurt you.
Well, I think that's the point, though. He wants to train them that he's not some messiah. Like, he's not. He's just a person who is learned some things and is trying to pass on what he's learned. That's all he is. So the God complex can be left at the door. And then, the final little thing I suppose to mention is Franklin, this is just something that kind of comes in towards the end, but Franklin is going to leave at the start of the new year, which is, funny enough, after the show's ending, more or less. So we still have him for the rest of the season, but he's going to leave the station and take over at the head medical research place on Earth. The main guy's retiring. He's been offered the job, and he's still going to take what his new role is, which is to document and understand all the different races, how they intermingle on a medical level and virus level and that kind of thing. But he has more resources here. He has more things that he can use to do that. So we get a big scene with him telling Sheridan this, and the sort of darker side of it is that he goes to tell all the other main characters individually because he wants to tell them one-on-one, but when he goes to call on Garibaldi's passed out drunk. So maybe we'll start next episode with either a hint of him finding out, if not just outright discovering what's going on with Garibaldi. But once again, he's AWOL in a moment because he's passed out drunk.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's sort of representing what a lot of people who have addictions are very good at, which is still being very capable while being intoxicated, like people who feel like I'm not going to let it interfere with, my home life or my work life. So they just kind of do it in secret, but they're still they still come to work like fully able to do their job. Yeah.
Garibaldi for the most part is still very obviously there is the getting drunk and because you later on Delen's like, I don't know, Sheridan says, it's funny that you slept through this part, and he's like, I was tired, the trip knocked me out, and obviously we know that he's
super defensive right away.
That's like the one thing that got really affected by him drinking there. But for the most part he's still very when he shows up to the meeting early on in the episode, like someone mentions the Drazi and what they're up to, and he gives this like monologue almost of like how this works and why they're doing this, and and it's like, he's still. So I think that's a very good point, is that this is portraying someone, and there are people like this who are very good at hiding it. They're very good at hiding their addiction, whether it be alcohol or a drug or whatever, and functioning until it reaches a tipping point where it suddenly feels like it gets bad really quickly, because it hasn't really. It's been gradually building, but to everyone else, because they've been so good at hiding it, it feels like suddenly it's just like they've went over an edge. But in reality, it's been building, and you've just not been seeing the evidence of it until a certain point. I like that observation, actually. So I'd be curious to see how long he does keep it to himself and is able to circumvent it. So all that stuff is good. I mean, I don't like any of this as much as I liked his reason for starting, which is the idea that Bester still has part of his brain that that Garibaldi can't control, and that represents like the addiction more directly, is that there's a part of his brain that's always going to want it. So I think that detail's still my favorite part of all this. But I mean, I think what they did with him in this episode is pretty solid, and I typically enjoyed the journey. So,
well, I'm just smiling because I already watched the next episode.
Oh, that's right. Yes, because you
and Bester's in it. It's like a Bester episode.
By complete accident.
By accident, yeah.
Yes. So Tara has knowledge of the next episode, so can't speculate because she's seen it already. But we'll be back with that in 2 weeks' time. So look forward to that. We are halfway. We are going to do Third Space. Where it aired originally between episodes. I know people said it made more sense to watch it before the season because of when it's set, but we're doing it when it aired versus the regular episodes. So I know that's coming up in the later teens of the season. So don't worry, I'm keeping an eye on it, so it'll go in the right place. But that is us. That is the Ragged Edge. So let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. Like, subscribe, ding the bell for notifications. You can support the content in the channel by hitting the super thanks button. Of course, you can also go elsewhere, can't you, Tara?
That's right, Peter. If you guys enjoy our reviews, please check out our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/MildFuzzTV, where if you donate as little as $3 per month, you'll get bonus content from us, and if you donate $5 per month, you'll get the access to Babylon 5 reviews 1 week early. That's still the thing, yeah, 1 week early.
6 days, but yeah, close enough.
6 days.
Yeah, that's about right. Worth mentioning, we just started reviewing the new Quantum Leap, and we are going to do the old Quantum Leap when the new Quantum Leap goes on break, because that happens a lot with network shows. So if you're interested in following our progress through that, we will be starting the original show until I imagine. Well, it'll probably take like a week or two off randomly before then, but certainly by Christmas we'll probably have started the original Quantum Leap.
I mean, I don't know how many episodes are even in this new season.
Well, we don't know for sure yet. We'll have at least 13, but it might get 22. Because they do the back 9.
Okay, so you understand network. I never watched network TV.
Things have changed a little bit in recent years where they're willing to just have 13 episode seasons and like rotate shows out a bit more. But the traditional method is that you get 13 and then you get what's called the back 9 if it's doing well. It's kind of like a mid-season renewal, if you will, where we'll do another 9 episodes. So it kind of depends how it does.
So come on, guys, watch the new Quantum Leap so that we get more.
So yes, especially if you got a Nielsen box.
Mm-hmm. I've done a Nielsen before, but it never came in a box.
That's just what they're called. They just call it a Nielsen box. I know it's not necessarily literal, but
oh, okay. I thought maybe that's a new thing. It's probably an app now. You've been selected. Please download our app.
Yeah, it's probably not as technical.
I've
done
it twice though. I've done the Nielsen thing. It happened when I first moved to America, and I thought it was the coolest. I get to write down everything that I've watched, and I got money for it.
There we are. Got to just pick one stupid thing and just say you're watching that 24/7 just to pump the ratings up for, Gary Busey Pet Judge.
I gotta watch that.
It's not good, but it's like good. You know?
I just gotta watch it. Where is it?
It's on Amazon Prime, unfortunately. I know you don't.
Oh, never mind. Bezos cannot have my money.
But there you go. That is Babylon 5. So thank you very much for joining us. We always appreciate it. Keep watching Babylon 5. Just don't give away the home world.